Have you ever thought about the idea of transitioning to part-time work? Are you fed up with the stress and the long hours and the workplace nonsense that goes along with a demanding full-time career, but you're not sure how to transition to part-time? This week's podcast guest is Mary Tung, a successful entrepreneur who owned her own construction business for 25 years. Mary's story holds a special place in my heart because we've had the opportunity to work closely together. You see, as Mary approached retirement, she realized that calling it quits altogether just wasn't in the cards for her. It just wasn't what she wanted to do. Instead, she decided to make a pivot, which involved easing into retirement through transitioning to part-time work. Mary had a crystal clear vision. She wanted to leave behind the unfulfilling and stressful parts of her business and instead focus on what truly lit her up. So she handpicked the 3 aspects of her career that brought her the most joy and fulfillment and embarked on an incredible journey to create a brand new post-retirement part-time fashion business. So join us as we delve into Mary's transition and transformation. Discover how she navigated the crossroads of retirement and learn how her unwavering persistence and perseverance led her to establishing a flourishing new brand and business. So for all of you women who are working full-time and longing to transition into part-time work, this podcast episode is for you. So without further ado, here is my interview with my client, Mary Tung. Welcome to Retire Your Limits, the podcast for women who are ready to rewrite the rule books and redefine what it means to retire. I'm your host, Gayla Beyer, nurse practitioner turned wellness coach for retiring women. Planning this next chapter of our lives can be overwhelming. At least I know it was for me. This podcast is about putting you first, challenging the norms, and unlocking what's possible for you as you step into this new era of retirement. So ready to retire your limits? Let's dive in. Hi, Mary. Welcome to the podcast.
Good morning, Gayla. Thanks for having me.
Yes, I'm really excited to speak with you today about your transformation from your full-time career with your construction business to your new retirement passion career.
Great.
First, tell us just a little bit about you.
So I have been in Portland for the last 35 years, married to my husband of 35 years. I have a son, daughter-in-law, full life.
Good, yeah. And tell me a little bit about your construction business. How long did you own that business? And tell me what you loved about it and what you were ready to move on from it.
Sure. So my construction business started 26 years ago with a vision of building small quality infill lot homes. So we took that vision and did that for a number of years and then found that we needed to pivot as business owners do often. And with that pivot, we began doing primarily remodels. And so when we started in the remodel business, we really did just about everything. We started out with a tile bathroom floor, and then, one thing led to another. And over the years, we've done many sizes, shapes, types of remodels and repairs.
So you owned Homemakers of Oregon for 25 years.
I did.
Wow.
I did.
So tell me, when you were starting to think about retiring or pivoting again, tell me a little bit about what that was like. What did you love about your job? What were you tired of? Tell me about those thoughts.
Sure. So if anybody has ever done a home project, large or small, you know that it can be challenging on a number of fronts. And I think for me, over the years, it just became too stressful, too overwhelming, long hours, lots of demands on you, from clients and your bureaucracy and the things that go along with that. So I got to the point where I just was really ready to, as you say, make a pivot.
Yeah, so many of us, you just get tired of dealing with the BS that goes
Yes.
along with some of these careers that we put our heart and soul into. And after
Uh-huh.
25 plus years, pretty soon we can get really tired of some of the
Yep.
stress, the continuous stress of owning your own business,
Yes.
working with subcontractors. Oh my gosh, I myself have gone through a few remodels and I know how challenging that can be. So, do you remember the moment when you decided to make this next pivot?
I do. And it wasn't a moment. I came to the point where I knew I just had to do it. I had to make a pivot. And I began that process really about 7 years ago. So it wasn't an overnight decision, nor was it an overnight process. It was, a lot of soul searching and figuring out how do I take my best skills from the construction arena and do some things that I really loved. So it was a bit of a long process. It doesn't happen overnight. For me, it did not.
So, there are a lot of women who are working in their full-time jobs and they really don't see any way to use the skills that they have in that job to be able
Uh-huh.
to pivot or move into a part-time career. They just don't see it's possible. Do you remember how you came to this realization that you could pivot and pick out some of the things that you liked from your job and make a new passion job around those?
I can understand that because I just took a leap of faith and thought, I'm going to try it. I'm going to give it a go. And I did, I did both things for a number of years, hoping that eventually I could let go of the construction company when my circumstances changed and go into this passion project more permanently or full time or part time, I should say. So I have to tell you, after I did a lot of analytical, processes and focus groups and lots of that, it really came down to I'm going to do the things I like and I'm going to put it out there. And I believe that somebody else is going to want that service. And so that's what I did.
So what I'm hearing is that you did some kind of analytical processing.
Uh-huh.
You discovered that yes, objectively this could be a successful endeavor. And
Yes.
then you believed that what you had to offer had value. But then at the end of the day, you took a leap of faith.
That's correct, Kayla. Again, it was a long process. It wasn't an overnight move.
Yes.
So
Do you remember some of the obstacles that you had, some of the thoughts, the beliefs that you had that were stumbling blocks along the way?
sure. So I had some obstacles with a family. My husband had a serious health crisis. So that became, an obstacle in my personal life. So there were a lot of things I was juggling and feeling as if, am I ever going to get to do what I want to do and not be, just locked into this structure of this construction company. So I had a lot of doubts that I, was going to be able to at some point do what I really love doing. I think for me probably one of the biggest challenges in this new passion project is really managing the new technology. That has really been challenging for me because in my construction business, either I had people under me that were very knowledgeable in the arena of social media and all kinds of things, or I had built my business by referral. So I didn't have to, as many years went on, I didn't have to do a lot of marketing. So now I find my biggest challenge really is mastering the technology and how people buy this kind of service. It's different than a construction company. So that's my biggest challenge.
Yes. So, first of all, life gets in the way. So, there are health crises, and then also just the changing time in business and marketing. Like you said, you really had built up in 25 years quite a referral network. And now with this new business, you needed to market. And in order to market, you had to figure out all this new technology and all the software and how consumers, shop and how they buy
Right.
now. So that's
Right.
been huge.
Yeah.
Tell me how Mary True came about.
So Mary True, I don't want to call it a midlife crisis, but it was a little bit at the point where I wanted to create a completely new identity from construction. So True, obviously Mary's my first name. True is a family name on both sides that I don't know why it kind of resonated with me. And I tried it out on friends and said, I'm changing my name to Mary True. And they're okay. So that's really, it came from the heart and it came from family, which I value. These people in my history were very creative, and that's how I came up with that particular name for my passion
I
project.
love that. So this name, Mary True, is a name that came from passion.
Did.
It came from the heart.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And also, you had kind of talked with me previously about having a true north. And I think you have your logo has a compass on it. So tell
Yes.
me about how Mary True aligns with your true north.
So I would say from a very young age, the creation of beauty in your home, because for me, home is true north, and I believe that for everyone. So the true north is really helping people dig down and say, how do I want to feel in my home or in this particular space at this particular time? What do I want it to do to serve my life? And I believe it does do that. When you are surrounded by an environment that you really feel good in and comfortable and happy, I think it can change your world.
Yes. Well, how did you come to that realization?
I would say watching people's transformation over the years and watching them delight in how their home had been either built from the ground up or, modified in some way. Recently, I had an experience with a childhood friend who was really in bad depression, very down. And I made a visit to her state and reworked her space. And when I left, she told me she was a completely different person, that this had changed her outlook on everything. So
Wow.
it can have a huge effect on your mental health and your well-being.
Yes. I think that so many women who are thinking about how they can transition into some sort of a passion business look back on their business and think, well, what skills do I have? what would transition into this new role. But what you did was you really took a step back and looked at
Yes.
your career and looked at how your work has transformed people.
Yes.
And you took that vision and planned your business around that. And I think that's interesting, to really be able to look back and see how you have changed people's lives, and then think about that as your focus for how you're going to create your business.
I worked hard on coming from the gut. And when I felt excited about certain aspects of Mary True, then I knew I was on the right track. And it isn't, especially at this stage in our life, we're not looking to climb the ladder and that sort of thing. So I think it's okay to trust that you do have some transferable skills, if you were, but I challenge people to really come from the heart, really work on coming from the heart.
Yes, yes. And as we've talked about in some of the previous podcasts, when we're coming from the heart, there's a level of self-awareness that we need to have to really be able to come from the heart. And when we're so wrapped up in our career, we're so busy, we're so stressed out, it's very difficult to have that self-awareness. We're more focused on our distractions, and it can be really hard to find the time to look inwardly so that we really know what we're passionate about. How did you come to figure this out?
So, Gila, I'm a firm believer that you don't do it alone and you need a coach, just like Gayla. I really drew on people that was their expertise, was helping people really get in touch with what it was they wanted to do in their career. So I worked with people who were trained in that area to help me put those pieces together. So I don't think necessarily you can do it alone.
Yes.
I think you need a support system to help you get to that deeper place. It's very difficult to work in a vacuum, and I believe in coaching on all levels. So that's the advice I would give. Start with a team and begin opening up some ideas, bouncing some things around.
Okay,
Get
so
some objective input.
starting with a team, surrounding yourself with supportive people who can help you to flush ideas out.
Right. I would really work on what are my values? What do I want to take to the next phase of my life? Being in touch with that, because I think earlier in our careers, we don't always end up at places doing things that support our values for one reason or another. So I think this stage in your passion project, you need to come from a place of heart and really reflect your values.
Yes. So when women are working and they're so busy, they're stressed, how do women make that pivot or that change?
Sometimes you have to do both. Sometimes you have to start your passion project a little bit at a time and work into that. If you're fortunate enough that you can, cut off your full-time career and start into this, that's wonderful. But a lot of people don't have that luxury or don't want to do it that way. So I made small incremental changes towards that.
I love that.
So I would say possibly starting slow.
So even just coming up with some ideas and just exploring them while you're still
Exactly.
working.
Right.
And see,
Yes.
so what the other piece that can come up for women who want to make a change are these mental blocks that we all have. I could never start a business. I could never market myself. I don't have enough money to be able to start a business. How have you been able to work through these mental blocks? And what advice would you give for women who are really want to make a change, but they're hearing these blocks in their mind?
I think taking stock in what is real and what is imagined, what can I really do with what money I have, trying to stick to the facts and not let yourself get all whipped up. Again, I think reaching out when you get to the point where you just are ruminating, reaching out to somebody who's already done it or is in your support system and just try to break that cycle.
Tell us about your new passion business.
So Married True is it's Married True residential project planning and design. So I really have three directions that I go with my business. And the first one is I help people do what I call a pre-construction game plan. Because what I found was when people wanted to do a construction project or a remodel project, they initially started with, okay, I'm going to call a contractor and get a bid. So that really, there is a step before that should happen. And that is, what are your priorities? How much money do you have? What's your timeline? What are your goals long-term for your property? There's a lot of conversation needs to happen before you can engage with a contractor, because all you're going to get from a contractor is a very vague set of budget numbers and that sort of thing. So it's really, I think, more important to come to the table with having done some research, get some background with somebody that's really done it, not just Googling it. And, somebody that's on the ground in Portland, Oregon, and has been for 25 years. So I know how that works in our location. And the second is I help people sort of navigate change. What I mean by that is when they're forced or choose to make a change in their living arrangements, I can help them once again kind of prioritize what things do I want to take? What does this new property look like? I really encourage people to shake it up a little bit. If you're going to make a move, try to just change up. Doesn't mean buy everything new, but give yourself a new outlook in this new property. Don't just take the same thing, arrange it the same way when you get to this new place. I try to challenge people to mix it up a little bit. I say that I want to help people find more happy in their home because, again, that's a huge value of mine is beauty, comfort in your surroundings. The third prong of my business is I have had a lot of experience in the hospitality end of things, both through a reception business that I owned years and years ago, as well as, I worked in a fine high-end linen and gift store. So I have a lot of experience in thread count, that sort of thing. And I love to do it. I love to help people in that way as well. So that's my three service offerings.
Yeah, so you have 3 service offerings that you pulled from your work with Homemakers of Oregon. One of them is pre-construction planning, meeting with people who are beginning a construction project and really kind of coaching them so that they are set to be able to work with a contractor and have that go smoothly and make decisions about choices of materials and that kind of thing seamlessly, and not making these decisions in the moment when everybody's all stressed out. The second thing is helping clients to be happy in their home. So when they're making a change, whether that's moving to maybe an assisted living type of a facility or even just a move, to really challenge them to look at how they can make that new environment a happy home. And then the third thing is hospitality, helping people with party planning and that type of thing. And
Uh-huh.
I think it's interesting, Mary, because generally one would look at these three things that you have pulled from what you loved from Homemakers of Oregon and your previous careers and not see how these can be kind of combined in a business. And the one thing that I pulled out from what you said is that you value these things. So tell me a little bit about how what you value informed these three kind of seemingly separate ideas into one cohesive business.
So I think that the through line in all three of these offerings is really the planning piece, the process piece. So my value is taking the stress away from some of these bigger events. And at the end of the day, is it pretty? Because as you and I both know, that's one of the things about making change is that it needs to be pretty or you don't do it.
Yes.
If if you're going to drink your water, you better have a pretty glass.
Yes.
I think that really beauty, I think, can be the foundation for everything successful.
So you have discovered for you that the self-awareness that you have around your own values is that beauty is really important. And so
Yes.
you've been able to use that value to create this business. How did you come to know that that was a value for you?
By the work I did, the work I did with others, really identifying your top 5 values and sticking to that. So beauty was always at the top.
So again, it comes back to the self-awareness piece and the kind of the team that you put in place around you, the support that you had to be able to kind of explore these things and how that can inform your passion business. Because that is what a passion business is, right? It's bringing your values and your strengths and what you love to your work.
Yes.
Yeah. So tell me how your business is going now, Mary.
I would say what I'm loving is, the example I gave of really taking somebody who's they're a little bit down, through the pandemic, everybody looked at the same 4 walls. And so helping them really reimagine their space and leave people feeling like, wow, I wouldn't have done it this way. I love it. That's one thing. And again, give some relief to people that are thinking about spending a lot of money on a particular project and giving them some peace of mind that someone is there to help them best utilize their budget and, who to contact and just giving people support for whatever it is they're doing. That's what I've really loved. People feel relief.
Yes. Yeah. That's amazing.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit more about how people can find you, get a hold of you, work with you.
So you can send me an email at mary@homemakersoforegon.com. And I'm working on my Mary True website, my technology challenge. So that is a little bit in transition right now.
Okay. Wonderful. And I will have your contact information in the notes below this podcast.
Great.
Thank you so much, Mary, for being on the podcast today. I think that you're a real inspiration to women who are ready to semi-retire, but they just don't see how it's possible. So thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Gayla. It was really fun. Thanks a lot.
Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode with Mary Tung. Let me know in the comments. Did this change your perspective about part-time work as a transition to retirement? I would love to know your thoughts. Please comment down below or find me on Instagram. Until next time, thanks for watching.